Tonight on Nova Legends podcast, I have Robinson and O'Connell coach Chris Jennings, who just got finished leading his O'Connell team to the Final Four in the private state tournament. And the public at Robinson, he got to the Final Eight and won the region. I think his first time at Robinson, and I think it's been a while for that great program to get to win a region. Chris is a York graduate, played soccer there. He's technical director or NVU, at least you were last time we talked. I'm not sure if that's changed at all. Coach, did I get most of that right?
Yep, no longer at NVU though.
Okay.
Yep, I'm training players. I have an organization, Next Level Football, where we're training players and kind of taking a step back right now to recover myself health wise and get started again. So
Are you going to do one? So it's one-on-one training or small group training?
yeah, all the above. Yeah,
Yeah.
small groups, one-on-one. There's camps, we have clinics, things like that.
Okay.
So
And where do you get your players? Or you're probably, I'm sure.
they're from all over. Yeah, but we're in the mostly Fairfax, Arlington, Falls Church area right now. Yeah.
And you come to the players, or do you have a field that
Yeah.
you usually train?
Well, we do a lot out of O'Connell. But yeah, we go to the players kind of where they are. They come to us if it's close by. So
What's
yeah.
the age group?
We work with some of the younger players initially, and then we kind of do a bit more private and focused training, more like IDP individualized with the older guys to help them either for college or some are trying to go pro, things like that. So
Now, do you supplement their club training and do it like if they want to do an extra session a week, they can do that, or are you mostly off season?
yeah, this is all club neutral. Yep.
No, but what
So
I mean is, do you also train during their season, or do you try to wait until they're off season to train with them, or do you actually
sure.
do your training during the season with their club schedule?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, some kids, their load might be a little bit less than others. Some of the guys that are training, 4 or 5 days a week, playing in 3, 4 games a week, they need to rest. So we try based on players' load and kind of just what they're interested in. We kind of try to tailor to what they need.
And do you go watch them play in the games?
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep, yeah. This we get film, look at them, try and help them kind of where as an individual where they can improve.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do you
trying to
coordinate
help
with the
develop players.
Do you ever coordinate with the coaches, or what does this player need, or are you just kind of trying to stay in the background, or what's your approach with the coaches?
Yeah, I mean, so far it's been a little bit of staying in the background just because I've been in the club kind of game for a long time. And I don't want to step on anyone's toes really, but a lot of the kids will give us feedback based on what their coaches are telling them. And some of the guys, if I know them, I'll reach out and we'll just talk a little bit. What do you think about this kid? Where can he or she improve and how can I help? And it's kind of where we go at it. So
Is it tough to coach kids in that you have to kind of give the at least the parents kind of a rosy assessment sometimes, because if you tell people the truth, they tend not to call you back.
Yeah,
You ever feel
well,
this?
I think giving them the truth is refreshing though. I mean, I don't think we're doing a service to the kids if we sugarcoat it too much. They get sugarcoated enough. So I think sometimes, myself and our coaches, we kind of look at it as we have the opportunity to be truthful and real with them. And, at the end of the day, we've had players and families that years down the line have come back and said, "Hey, thanks for giving it to us straight. We really appreciate that," because with things are so different now, with the transfer portals, with so much openness with college recruiting internationally, and some players and families appreciate, hey, just give it to me straight. So,
Yeah.
but if you're giving it to them honestly, I mean, there's each player has their own positives, and they have things that they also need to work on too. So there's plenty to go around.
So I'm not sure if I was ready for honesty all the time when I was a soccer dad. I remember, so Coach Mike Maestro, the good counsel coach, coached at Alexandria, and he was the B team coach of my son's age group. And my son was playing in the spring, and he wasn't playing high school his freshman year, so he was trying to get extra game time. So he'd play with the B team, and so coach would use him a lot. And for the first time in his career, he was playing the six because he's not really an aggressive type player. Coach Hall
Mm.
was the six, and he really grew there. And then the next year, Coach Maestro became the 18 coach, and Chandler stayed at the six. And I remember one time he told him, "I want you just to play one touch." Now, for me, he was a real good dribbler and he was good with the ball. All of a sudden, he's kicking the ball. I said, "What is this coach telling him?" And it was a painful like 2 or 3 months. But once he got it, he had something that kids his age weren't really doing, and that made him a really special high school player because he wasn't the most athletic kid, but he always knew where the pass was going to go even before he got the ball because of my shot. And then he told him, I remember one time in senior year, I'm like, "Coach, what should we be thinking about for college?" He said, "Julian, I want Chandler to go to wherever college he wants to go. Don't worry about soccer." I was so mad at him for saying that. I'm like, he doesn't think my son's a good player. And that was the best advice we ever got because there's so many kids that Chandler played against. They're still chasing soccer, and
Hmm.
that's great. And if they love it, it's great. And I don't want to discourage that. But my son was able to. He loves soccer, and he referees, he coaches, he does intramurals and stuff. But he's doing so many other things, and he went to the college that he wanted to go to. He's got EVA, and because Coach Maestro was honest so many times with him, and sometimes I didn't want to listen to him. I didn't like that honesty. But he's probably, I mean, Chandler's had some great coaches, but maybe the most influential coach he ever had, mostly because he was honest.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, Mike does a fantastic job, and that's great because we all don't want the truth a lot of times, and it's just part of life, so much of it's life skills. And I just feel just like Mike, it's strongly that you got to give people the truth because if you're coming from a place of honesty and love, I mean, you're looking out for these kids, you're looking out for their families, you're looking out for their futures. So,
Yeah. Well, best of luck. I'm sure you do great, and I'll make sure people have your contact information below if they want to call you up and get some training. First of all, you guys lost a brutal penalty shootout to Wakefield. And Wakefield, you know, not to take it personally, they beat everybody like that.
yeah.
And have you recovered from that loss? We don't have to talk about the
Uh,
game, but have you recovered from the loss yet?
yeah, I recovered from it. I mean, I think Eddie does a fantastic job and his kids are resilient. I mean, like you said, they beat everybody that way. They were incredible. I think they were kind of looking at it, when it got to penalties, they were kind of thinking we got them right where we want them. And when it got to penalties, we were kind of thinking, oh no. Just because we've had bad luck with pens the last, gosh, 4 or 5 years. I think in almost every exit round in the playoffs, it's been penalties for the last 4 or 5 years. So, but no, we kind of knew, these guys have that kind of a golden ticket somehow, some way. They're beating everyone in penalties. And yeah, that was tough, but they're well deserved. They were fantastic.
I think I think they shot at least 3 or 4 shootouts in the postseason. They missed one penalty in the shootouts. Was that the toughest loss of your coaching career?
Um, I've never really thought about it like that, to be honest. I genuinely enjoy or I hate the losing more than I like the winning.
Mhm.
A lot of times the winning is kind of a relief because you prepare so much and you think, okay, this is how the game is supposed to go, or this is how it should or could go. Um, but I think seeing the players a few days after and just how grateful they were for the experience and for the season and for each other and kind of the family we had. I mean, it kind of that for me just kind of ended that season. It's just a good group of guys. A lot of them were tired by the end of the year. Um, we had a couple unfortunate injuries in that game that kind of may or may not have dictated the outcome, but it is what it is. On to the next one.
Yeah. My friend, your assistant coach, Ozzy Jimenez, he's one of the most positive guys I know. What was his advice to you after the loss? What did he say?
The next morning, we all got a text. I just kind of sent a message out in the group chat to the coaches like, "Hey, so did that really happen?" And Ozzy was just saying how distraught he was.
Yeah. He wasn't
But
very
yeah, I
helpful.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, he's such a competitor, but I think we just had a real special bond with these guys. It was a special family group of kids. And I mean, we even said it, I think it was maybe going into the penalty shootout, some of the captains led a prayer, and it was, look, if things work out in our favor, and if they don't work out in our favor, like we're together, we're a family, whatever happens, happens, and we ride out together. So we just kind of accepted it that way and just kind of, kind of look back on valuing the memories and the season and the journey. And would have been great to, hoist another trophy, sure. But Herndon was fantastic, so they were well deserved, state champions. But yeah, we just kind of positively tried to move on from it and have our older guys talk to our younger ones about how much it meant to them, and we just go again.
Herndon was down in the penalty shootout against Cosby in the semis, a team they were much better than. Um, and I mean, they lost 4 or 5 games during the year, including to Robinson. How much it is a luck factor who wins? I mean, obviously, you have to be good to get lucky in soccer. You have to be very good to get lucky because you can only get really lucky so many times. You got to be in the position to do those things. But how important is the luck factor to win a state title?
Yeah, I think there is an element of that, because in our area, almost not, I want to say anybody can win, but I mean, genuinely speaking, there's a handful of teams that can win every year. And if you get hot at the right time, if you have injuries, if you're kind of more so your developmental players, maybe some of your younger ones are developing and starting to take on more roles at the right time. There's a lot that goes into it. I think I sort of look at it as, more of a journey. Like this year, we had a lot of injuries coming into the beginning of the season. And I was kind of thinking, all right, after spring break, we might be able to get our full team together and kind of see what we have. But I think a piece of it, there's a bit of luck to it. There's a lot of talented players. This last class was pretty loaded. There's a lot of talented coaches, and there's a lot of talent in our area. So you kind of have to, you got to get lucky at times, I think.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about it. Well, we'll get back to those games. I did want to get to a controversy that was swirling around Robinson. Is it true that you had the boys TP the girls' homes and cars during the season? The players
Oh,
seem to say that it was the order came from up top.
um, my lips are sealed. I think, the girls staff, they're fantastic. They do a great job. They've had a couple great, really good seasons the last few years. We get along quite well. I think overall as a program, boys and the girls, just soccer in general, they get along quite well. They have a lot of fun. Basically, what I can reveal is we just told them to have fun but be respectful. So
Okay. That would have been a great road trip. It's a shame you guys um, both didn't qualify. Um, well, first of all, the talent level this year was unbelievable. If you look at the all Met teams, all region teams, almost all seniors. I mean, it was such a talented crew. It was hard for underclassmen to even make the all-star teams. If you look at the Patriot District, which you guys won, I think there were Division I players on almost every team except for your team, except even though Anthony Chong to me is a Division I player. I can't explain that. We'll talk about that later. But Alexandria City had Dylan, Logan, Woodson had Alex Garrison. Um, uh, uh, um, I'm going to miss some of the other ones. West Potomac has that midfielder. He's only a junior, but I imagine he's going to be a Division I player. Um, South County has Christian Rodriguez is playing at George Mason. His brother, uh, Christian Ramos, who's playing at George Mason, and his brother Diego is going to be right close behind him. I mean, the talent level was unbelievable this year. Do you agree with me? And what explains the level of talent that was in Northern Virginia soccer this year?
yeah, I would agree. It's interesting. I think, a lot of the kids really want to play high school. There's a lot of them that try to figure out, how they can play, whether that's taking care of their bodies and taking certain nights off. I think this class, yeah, I think you had used, I think I heard you use the word generational at one point.
Thanks.
And I mean, yeah, there were, I understand some of the rules and the voting stuff, but how a kid like O2 is on the, was it second? I mean,
He was second team All State.
yeah, crazy. But yeah, mind blowing. I mean, I think he was honored with some rising young star with CONCACAF or something. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
he was leading. He was the leading scorer, second leading scorer in the recently under 23 Asian
yeah.
national. Yeah,
So yeah, there was a lot of talent. It was interesting, a lot of times when we got towards the end of the regular season and then gearing up for playoffs, it kind of became how do you stop this team? Well, you got to stop this guy and this guy. How do you stop them and that? So it became really how do you try to take out some of these guys that are going to play at decent levels, some potentially going internationally as well. So yeah, a lot of talent. I don't know how you can explain it except there's a lot of good, youth coaches in our area. There's a lot of good clubs in our area and they do a good job, with players.
yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I've been tracking this closely for the last few years, and there's a couple years there's maybe one or two Division One players in the whole area. Like one
Mm,
year, I think it was Cooper Noseworthy, Matthew Leonard. I
yeah.
think that was it. And then I remember, so Chandler came with me to watch you guys play Lewis, and so you guys were great that night. Now that's to me, Lewis is an amazing team, and in Chandler's senior year, but also his junior year, the senior year, they had when we tied you guys, we beat Lewis, and that Lewis team went to the state playoffs. And I asked Chandler, which team is better, this Lewis team or the Lewis team that went to state that Chandler's team beat? He says, "Yeah, this Lewis team is so much better than that Lewis team. I mean, it's unbelievable how good these teams are all, how good they were." So I really think it was a very special year. It was just fun going to the games because every team
I
had
I
players.
think they had two or three, not just Division One players, but youth internationals.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sam Reyes is going to play at George Mason. Jeremy Oriana is going to ODU. Nelson's going to ODU. And they have that the two fullbacks are especially the one fullback is tremendous. I don't know all the player, and of course John does a tremendous job. I mean, just the amount of talent was unbelievable, and Lewis lost quite a few games. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, when I went to see Lake Braddock play, I couldn't believe how good they were. Everybody was good, so it was really fun to see all this talent. Now, when I talked to your team, and I had such a good time interviewing your guys, it was so much fun. But when I asked them to compare the 25 team to 2014, I was surprised in that they said the 2014 was better. Now, I thought the 2014 was because we talked last year. I love that team, but this 25 team was to me was a better team. Your back line with Mamadou they were so fast and physical. Maybe you didn't have like this. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if your team that many teams were more talented than this year's team. It had everything you needed. I mean, you lost, you didn't win state, but that was a very talented team this year. How would you compare the two teams?
Yeah, I would agree. I think very talented group. Um, Two very different groups though. The 24 team and then this 25 team. I think the 24 team, we had so much of the ball every game. It was kind of like lulling people to sleep. There were some games when we'd go a whole half without really playing in our own half. So that was kind of trying to prepare them in different ways, to defend how other teams would try to counter sort of our control. Um, and then I think, having guys like, Christian Rodriguez in the area of midfield to dictate games, to have someone like that, playing in there. And we had some very good, attacking players. This past season's team was kind of, I wouldn't say man for man as maybe skillful as that group, but I'd say they were more of a determined group. Um, Being able to we tried to set them up in a way each game to kind of showcase what they're good at and their abilities. And yeah, it was just a really good group of guys that were honest with each other, that would do the running for each other, that would pick up the slack for each other. And um, two very good team. Two of the best sort of, seasons I think I've been a part of, able to be with a group of guys that were so kind of different, yet if you had asked the guys coming in this year, after the season that we had had winning districts and some of the other seniors moving on, asked them about a regional title, they probably would have said that you were crazy. Um, so yeah, it was interesting how the team sort of ebbed and flowed at the start of the season, and then once we got healthy, how they all kind of took on different roles, and it was really good to see the growth of the group. We all kind of go into the season beforehand as coaches trying to plan and kind of see what we think we have and things like this, and to see it play out by the end of the season was really rewarding for us based on our preparation. So
Yeah. I think this might be the best defensive team that I've ever seen. I have only been following it for 4 or 5 years. And Herndon was a very good defensive team this year too. I think the Robinson team is the best I've ever seen. Now there might be, I'm sure that came before that I didn't watch, but I mean with the speed and the size, the goalie, in your midfield tracks back, so it's not like there's a lot of space for them people to fly at your defenders. Just a tremendous job, and also a tremendous job coaching as well. You guys would change your defenses a lot, and I think you kept people guessing. I thought your Lewis game was a great defensive game plan. We'll get to all that. Um, During the season, you got off to a slow start, and I talked to Ozzy, and he said you had some guys who are running track and qualified for some postseason, and you had some injuries, and everyone around the area, Coach Burke had said that everyone says you guys are going to be good, that you're missing players. So I think it was understood you guys had some injuries, but were you concerned early, or because you just mentioned before you didn't know you were going to be this good. So what was your attitude early in the season?
Um, kind of steady as she goes, honestly. The first game or two, we didn't score. And the guys were kind of looking around at each other thinking, uh-oh, what's going on here? And it was we made a few changes, but it was more or less trying to again figure out how to unlock certain players and put guys around them just to allow people to do what they're good at. And we kind of knew what we wanted to get to at the end of the day. And just kind of when we got the injuries back, or the guys back from injury, we thought that we'd be good. What I was pleased with was the guys that started our season kind of plugging holes and doing a job and taking on roles, how much they developed by the end. We had guys that, did not give a whole lot of minutes maybe at the very beginning of the season, whether that's injury, whether that's they weren't maybe prepared just yet. And then by the end of the season, I mean, those guys were game changers and, influencing games for us. So I really wasn't concerned at all, to be honest. Some of the guys early on were kind of like, Coach, we're better than this. What's going on? Well, it's fine. We'll be good because you can kind of see. I don't know. I'm a firm believer in just the planning and sort of the teaching of things, and you're not going to sprint before you crawl, and it's just a matter of making sure that you hit the different pieces in between. I feel like we'd be okay,
Yeah.
and we sort of hit our stride, I think, in mid to late April, really.
Which
I think to be honest, the Herndon game kind of I mean we didn't we were missing our starting goalkeeper almost the whole year. And one of our backup goalkeepers was at an interview at West Point, I believe. So we had to go down to the JV to get our goalkeeper for that game. And I think the way we played I think it proved to them that okay, we're good enough. So
I thought you guys were so good defensively that night. I watched it online. Herndon almost ran out of ideas, and they really stopped trying to do anything, just started kicking the ball. And I thought your defense was so good that night. That's when I first was like, yeah, Robinson is going to be very good. Now, you did have a hard time scoring goals early. Last year, that was definitely a weaker part of the team. You have Caleb, you have Frankie, you got guys, and you got the big guy, Allen, who is coming back next year. But you have Mr. Highlight, the human highlight film, who has a cameraman who's also a family member to make sure the highlights get documented, and that's Anthony Chong. Anthony, I mean, I rated him my most valuable player. I didn't necessarily mean he was the best player, even though he'd have a strong argument. But if there was a player that was most valuable to his team, that the team needed him, I felt Anthony was probably the most valuable player to Robinson than any other player to any other team. Um, Tell us a little bit about Anthony. Are you surprised, like I am, that he didn't have a Division One? His dad told me late in the year he didn't have a Division One offer, and I was shocked. And I know he's going to get there if he wants to get there. But tell us a little bit about Anthony, and are you surprised like I am?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I think the game's changing a lot. Again, with the transfer portal, and I mean, college soccer is kind of turning into a free agency kind of
Yeah,
circus every single year. It's difficult, it's hard, especially for American kids, young kids to come through. And I think maybe even more so harder for some attackers because physically you're going up against, you could be going up against 22, 23-year-olds from Europe and you're an 18-year-old kid. Um, Obviously some of the guys from our area are doing that, but it's very challenging. I think Anthony, he's got some skill sets that's incredibly desirable, and I think in the right environment and in the right culture, they're more appreciated maybe than others. I know he raves, about his club and they do a great job. And as we saw with a lot of his teammates playing with Alexandria City, they're exciting, quick, attack-minded type players. But yeah, Anthony's very good. I think to your point, we scored a lot of goals off set pieces, and he was kind of putting things on a silver platter for a lot of guys. He was very, very valuable to our team. I think if you would ask him who the most valuable was, he'd probably say some of his buddies at the back because they sort of give him the platform to do what he needs to do up there. And yeah, he was incredible for us. One of the best seasons I think I've seen from a high school player.
yeah. I mean, all your players in your back are great. But there's a few of them. Anthony's just he's only one of them out there, and you really needed him to
Yep.
create. And it got so where if there was a foul anywhere near the box, you probably had a 30-40% chance of scoring, and that's going to wear you down. It kind of reminded me of Coach Bo's teams 3 or 4 years ago that they were going to if they get 10-15 set pieces, they're going to score 3 goals on you, and that's the way you guys were late in the year, it was obvious that you guys were going to score that way. Well, you guys had a great rivalry with Alexandria City. That was a very strange team. They started off the season like they're going to beat everyone 10-0. And then they went to a terrible patch where they lost 4 games in a row. I think one of the losses got reversed, or maybe it was 3 in a row. Maybe it was a tie, but it was a really bad patch for a team with that much talent. But they got themselves back together and they beat you guys in penalties in the district final. Talk a little bit about the Alexandria City rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, there were two very good games. I think it could have either a game could have gone either way. We had some chances going forward that maybe we didn't take. And then those guys are so good that if you mentally slip up for a half second and give them a chance, it could be the decider. So, but we honestly really enjoyed those challenges. They came into our district, goodness, a few years back. And I remember thinking, okay, it's like this is going to be difficult now. Every team in our league is difficult and competitive. So, and I think we kind of saw that, throughout the season when there was non-conference play and things like this. But they're a very good side, very attack-minded. Again, someone that if you slip off for half a second, take a break, check your shoelaces or something, there's 3 or 4 guys getting in behind you.
Yeah.
Very good group. So we had to try to figure out how to take away their space, especially on that blue field. Golly, that thing drives me nuts, man.
All right, so you got to we got to penalties with AC. They beat you guys, but in the regionals they lost to West Potomac. Now West Potomac, they're a really good team, and it's funny because they're a funny team. They're physically they're not big guys. They're kind of a small team, bunch of little guys, and they're very physical. They're kind of a fierce team. But in your words, why is West Potomac so tough?
Oh, I love the way that they play. They're resilient. They just keep coming at you and coming at you. Like they like to build. CJ does a nice job setting them up, and they control their areas really well. I think you had mentioned the midfield player. I think his name is Josue.
Yeah,
He's
just
excellent. He sits in there and dictates the game. No, CJ's done a really nice job with that team. They're very resilient. Like I said, they just come after you. It's like waves, waves of attack, waves of attack. And I mean, we sort of knew we would have to suffer a bit playing them. We talked a lot about kind of, especially in the playoff run. It's good to suffer. I think we're in a culture and a society now where suffering is so bad, but it makes you better, it refines you, and it tests you. And we talk to the boys a lot about some of these groups that we be coming up against, Westpo being one of them, that there's going to be moments that we may have to suffer. We may have to be deep for 10, 15 minutes until we can, get out or create a chance through a counter or something like this or get a grip of the ball. But um, they've got wide players that will run at you. They've got, Steven Ramirez. He scored what, six in a game, I think,
Yeah.
in the region playoffs. I mean, they're a very talented group. And then to your point with the lists of all the talented players and that won all these awards, you look at their class, and I think Josue was a junior and Jack was a sophomore, and you're thinking, oh boy, okay, so they're coming again.
That
So
kind
no,
of,
very good side.
yeah. All those teams all those schools with have a heavy Latino population. It's basically about getting the kids to come out and also, great coaching. So West Potomac is always going to have, they're always going to have players. And as long as you can get them to come out, Lewis is the same way. If you get those kids to come out, um, they're going to always have players. The one thing that impressed me about you guys, there's a lot of things that impressed me, but one thing in particular is against Lewis. You guys showed a physical presence, and you really proved that you're not going to back down from intimidation or challenges. So talk about the Lewis game.
Yeah, what an interesting event that was. They're very good, and we knew that the crowd and kind of the way that they play, if you don't step up to the challenge, you can get blown off the park, and um yeah, we kind of set them up in a way to try to take away what Lewis does best, and try to exploit kind of maybe some dents in their armor that we found. So we knew again we'd have to suffer for a little bit, but we were very confident that we could, kind of pick them off maybe where we needed to. But that experience for me, I really am happy that our guys got to experience that whole night and everything that went down because, I've been in locker rooms before like that and things, smoke bombs coming through and all type batteries thrown at you and bags of, stuff from the stands and things. But to have the guys kind of be in an environment that the players were extremely talented, that game meant everything to both schools because it meant you qualified for states and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a very, very hard fought match. I was not surprised at how good Lewis were, but very pleased in how our guys carried out the game plan and they bought into what we were trying to do. We had, talked about it in training a few days prior, and the coaches put in a lot of effort with film, and we worked pretty hard away from the field to try to make it as easy for our players on the field. And that was one of those nights that I feel like a lot of our guys will remember for the rest of their lives. So
Yeah, well, one thing Ozzy told me that surprised me is that you wanted to take the middle of the field away from them. But I think Ozzy told me that, and I didn't get that because their best players are their wing players. Well, Reyes is a great player, but it's Jeremy and what
Nelson.
Nelson that do most of the damage scoring wise from the outside. So, but whatever you did, it worked. What was the strategy? And is Ozzy being coy with me?
Um, maybe a little bit. We knew what they were good at, and we set our guys up in a way to try to eliminate just certain areas of the field where they scored a lot of goals from. But then also knowing that if we could frustrate them and kind of play a certain way or hang around for a bit and then pick them off, it's very frustrating, when you have a good amount of the ball or a good amount of the chances, and then you turn around and look at the scoreboard and you're not winning. Um, but we kind of, yeah, yes and no. I mean, we set them up a little bit differently. I kind of went against a lot of, I guess, what I would normally believe in or do. But I really trusted the defenders that we had, and yeah, I mean, I would not teach young kids to do some of the things that we did, just because I don't think they should be left 1v1 on an island back there, but we trusted our guys to do certain things and take away areas that they would be dangerous. So, and they still had plenty of decent enough chances, but yeah, we want to take away decent parts of the field and then exploit other areas. So,
Yeah, and then you beat Lewis, and that's when I really thought you guys had a chance to win the whole thing. And then you play West Potomac, and West Potomac, Stephen Ramirez is hurt. Um, and your Caleb is not going to play because he's on a red card. But I really felt like without Steven, that would be a good matchup for you guys. But as good as the Lewis game was, the West Virginia game was pretty rough on both sides. It was hot outside. Both teams were tired from playing the semifinal. And you could just tell the players didn't have great legs. But what was your impression of the West Potomac game?
yeah, no, I'd agree. I think that game's always going to be more difficult, especially with the emphasis put on the one prior to qualify for states. I think just as well, like you'd said, the intensity of the two games, our game with Lewis and then their game with AC. I mean, that place was rocking, and then to try to replicate that 2 days later was really hard. But I think the guys knew that they had kind of qualified for states, and it was trying to get every ounce of energy that they could to get over the line. I think, that game was, like you said, it wasn't really easy on the eyes, but it wasn't really about that at that stage. It was about just trying to win the game. So,
Yeah. Well, let's get to the Wakefield game. The first thing was interesting is that when I was talking to Coach Eddie and he revealed that he benched a bunch of players because they'd gone to beach week. So the beach weeks are a week different. There's a week different from different jurisdictions, and then Arlington happened to be that week. And so some of the kids in missed practice, and the ones that missed practice didn't start. So he started almost a whole, like 6 or 7 players. He made 6 or 7 different rotations in the starting lineup. When you saw that, did you know what was going on when he started a bunch of new players?
yeah.
Oh, he told you?
No, we knew. But I told my guys that it would play into their advantage because then once he put on the guys that had gone to beach week, they're going to be fired up, and you know it would
Yeah,
have been a difficult rest of the half or a difficult rest of the game. So I told our guys we need to take advantage of this if we can, but be prepared because once they come out, like they're going to be kind of angry that they don't want to go out like this,
yeah,
seniors. So no, I thought at the time I thought, man, I'm not so sure if it's going to help us or hurt us, but the closer it got to game time, I thought that could be an advantage for them.
yeah.
So
Wakefield has a lot of quality, but they're kind of underrated because they do struggle to score goals. But they have a lot of quality. Were you surprised how good Wakefield was?
not really. I had watched a good amount on them, and had heard from some other people in the area. We knew that they had good defenders. They used the ball real well. I mean, there were times when early in the season they were passing people off the park. People couldn't get the ball off them. So we knew that on their day they'd be very difficult. I think at that stage, it's like if you have a hot goalkeeper, if you have a hot team at that stage, they could be very dangerous. And they took down, gosh, McLean, off the pens, and they took down Herndon. It's just their tank was probably very full with confidence, and maybe that's why they thought they could escape to the beach for a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So I always, as you notice, try to get highlights from the big games in the area and post them. But that game, those were the ugliest goals that I saw all year. So I didn't post any of the goals because
Yeah.
I think there was 3 goals or two, whatever, 4 goals or 2 goals, but they were horrible goals. Uh, did the game go as you thought it was going to go?
Um, Yes and no. I thought that we would be a bit better in the second half, but that was, I mean, sort of due to an injury to Anthony. I thought that we could wear them down a little bit. Um, yeah, I mean, it did not go the way that I thought it would late. Early on, I kind of thought, okay, they're gonna, like you mentioned, they're gonna start some different players, then guys are gonna come off the. I thought, okay, we got to be really good in the first half because we don't want to go into a situation where, we're chasing a game in a second half based on how good they've been defensively and taking care of the ball and things like that. But I thought we would have had a little bit more punch to our game. But we had some injuries, with Anthony going down, and we never really recovered after that. We didn't have as many. We still had, I think, one or two decent chances, but not as many as we would have had, if we had had a healthy attack. So.
Yeah, I think I had done a poll before that game. It was like 77% said Robinson. I mean, that was a big upset. But without Anthony and again, again, Wakefield, they have quality all over the pitch, and they're very deep. Now look, you lost to Lake Braddock last year in a brutal penalty shootout. They had a great goalie who's played at Mary Washington. At least it was last year. I have not kept up. And you lost in a penalty shootout to Alexandria City in the district. So we talked about that. Had you thought a lot about penalties, and what was the strategy going in?
Well, we practiced them every day for, the second latter part of the season. I think it was really a case of we had some guys that had just kind of given everything in their legs and were not confident in being able to take one with that pressure and just having ran themselves into the ground. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a flip of the coin. I cannot stand watching them. I get nervous. I start walking around and picking up pennies and cleaning the bench up, and I just try to do anything to take my mind off of it, and then just tell me what happened.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's kind of the luck of the draw. Even, you mentioned those, but even before that, I think Lewis beat us in penalties in a region semifinal the year before, I think. I mean, we've had bad luck with pens, so we got to figure out how to break this curse. But in training, the boys do fine with them. They do well. Like, like you said, Gerard, our goalkeeper, for the last few years, he does a nice job with them. Yeah, I just think it's the luck of the draw, and some guys they pick their spot, and there's just no stopping it if you hit it the right way. So.
Do you think you'll do anything different with penalties with O'Connell this year, or also, of course, with Robinson next year?
Well, it's funny because probably one of the most difficult or bizarre penalty situations that I've seen was at O'Connell last year. We were in a playoff game and the lights ran out. And we don't have lights right now. So it was against St. John's, and they had to come back the next day just to take penalties. Um, and we made all five and we
Wow.
advanced. It was fine. So. Yeah, I genuinely just think it's sort of a luck of the draw. We practice them, the kids, after a lot of training sessions, we give them time to do some individual stuff if they need. A lot of them will go do set pieces, free kicks, pens, things like that. So, no, I don't think we'll do anything different. I just think hopefully when we flip the coin, it lands on the other side for the next 4 or 5 go arounds.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what about next year with Robinson, and we'll get to O'Connell. Alan Cloutier's coming back. Dominic, who's a great player, played right back last year. This year he's more in the midfield, like that kid. I think he played like anyway. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but really, really nice player. But you graduated a lot. You graduated a lot of players. You did have some young players. You had a freshman, you had a sophomore on the roster. I'm not sure if they played a lot. Do you think you can rebuild this team next year? Or is it going to
I
take a
think so.
yeah?
I think it'll be difficult to follow up any, team that wins a trophy or, gets their banner raised or things like that. But I think we've sort of created a culture there. And to be fair, Robinson has had a good culture, athletics wise. Andy Jimmo and his team do a nice job. And I think we talk about we don't really rebuild. We just try to reload every year. And that's one of the reasons why I like to include a lot of younger players to kind of show them what it's like, show them what it's all about, show them really the expectations. Um, so yeah, a lot of those guys, like I know our freshman, he played a decent amount. We've had a few sophomores that played a decent amount, and then we brought up another 4 or 5 during the playoffs just to kind of show them how we go about things. And Yeah, I mean, the last couple classes has been a lot of kids that I've had at club or known since they were really young, like 9, 10, 11 years old. So it's been really special on a personal level for me, and my family and with them. But I think a lot of the younger players to kind of see how we like to go about things and understand, all right, I've got this tradition that I need to uphold now, and we'll figure it out as we go. I mean, I like to say too, everybody else graduates players as well. So
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Well, last year with O'Connell, the last the game, the semifinal game, it was out here in Loudon, and it was a disappointing loss. I think I don't think that team it was Episcopal, I believe, right?
Episcopal.
I
Yeah.
don't think they were better than you guys, but I think it was definitely two good teams. I think the breaks kind of went their way, and they did have a really special player that had at least one goal also. But anyway, I know you're bringing back Sully Carter, who was a second team All Met last year. I believe your goalie's back. Is it Chris Flores? Is his name?
Cameron Flores. Yep.
Cameron Flores. And there's a Charlie. What's Charlie? You know, a striker. I think is coming back, right? Or maybe I got that wrong. Um,
We yeah, we have an attacker coming back, Zach Robbins, who was in the group last year. We've got a young striker coming back, who we brought up at the end of last year, Caden, who's a good player.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you lost Gabby. You lost a couple good players, but you had a center back. A center back that was a nice player as well. He was all Met. I think he was honorable mention all Met as well. What was the African
Yeah,
name?
yeah, Zayden Bediako. Yeah, he
Yes.
he was he second te I think he made second team as a sophomore last year.
Yeah. And so he's
Yeah,
back. So talk.
he's not back.
Oh, he's not back.
No, he's a guy that been fortunate enough to coach since he was little too. No, he's an outstanding kid, outstanding player, good student. He's actually up at New England Revolution's residential program right now. So
Wow.
yeah,
Congratulations.
he played in a few games with the under 18s last year, and I think he's like knocking on the door of their next pro team.
Well,
So
that's amazing. Well,
yeah.
anyway, first of all, before we get to the team, do you like when the weather is hot in tryouts and then cold at the end of the year, or do you like the way it is in the public school in the spring, where it's cold at the beginning of the year and hot at the end of the year? Which one's better?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know. Football to me is good all the time, but I think it's interesting because you have your different seasons, and then when it gets warmer out, the O'Connell guys still come and support the Robinson guys, and when it's cold out, some of the Robinson guys still put their jackets on and come support the O'Connell guys. It's kind of neat. Like you mentioned that game out at Segra Field that we had, and you look in the stands, and there's alumni, but then also like Robinson guys out there, and then when we had some of the district final last year and the region this year, you look and there's like a lot of the O'Connell guys here supporting, a lot of them play together in club and things like that. It's interesting. At O'Connell, we wear long sleeves for that exact reason. Right now, they'll roll them up, and why do we have these things? It's so hot. And I'm like, you have long sleeves because it's expected of us to be playing in November. And then when, the Robinson guys, we try and do maybe some kick arounds in the winter, and you're looking at, man, this is great right now, February, March, decent weather. And then once the heat hits, you're thinking, all right, we got to manage a lot more minutes now, manage these guys with clubs. Some of them are preparing for club team playoffs or they're fighting to try to, win games to qualify for certain things. So the heat and their bodies become much more of a factor then too. So it all has its challenges, but I think if you're playing in June or if you're playing in November and you're part of a school team, you're doing all right. So that's what we try to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think, Coach, last time you told me that with public school, sometimes tryouts are tough because you have kids coming off showcases, and it can be hit or miss. And private school is a little bit better because they get a chance to rest in the summer, and you get a chance to truly evaluate what you have. I probably put a lot of words in your mouth there, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But you probably also have some kids that are probably out of shape or maybe coming off vacation as well. But do you enjoy the summer tryouts better than the spring tryouts for public?
Well, I think it's interesting because in the summer, getting ready for the summer tryouts, you have, you know, as rightfully so, kids should be getting away, getting some time off. They got to recharge, and they also have to be kids, and it's important to spend time with their family and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to at times rally all the troops together. Hey, remember we start, mid-August. I mean, we're in our second or third day of tryouts now, so it comes pretty quickly. But I think at least in the springtime, if there is a benefit to it, a lot of the kids are already enrolled in school, they're in a routine, and then you're kind of refining what their spring maybe routine looks like.
Mm.
One of the challenges for the summer is some kids enroll into school late, and you're trying to get waivers for, MLS Next players and things like that. And there's a lot of kind of stuff that goes into it administratively, but I think either one, as long as the kids prepare themselves, maybe they're a little bit better prepared going into the spring. I'd say that a general player because they're coming off of maybe showcases in a fall season, but we've got a lot of kids that put in a lot of work in the summer and look at that as a time to really get better individually and refine themselves. So I think there's benefits to both of them, to be honest. I don't really see because it's the same in the club world, you're kind of you gear down a little bit in the winter. Yes, you have your showcases, but you get a little bit of a break and then you start ramping up again after the new year. So
Yeah,
I think the kids are kind of used to it by now.
yeah. Did the private school kids care about school ball as school soccer as much as public? Here's why I asked that. In public school in the spring, nobody really cares much about the club anymore. You play with them for 4 or 5 months. If you're a senior, you really don't care about club anymore unless you're going to nationals. So everything really rides on your high school season in the spring. But you have AP exams, you have prom, you got graduation, you got beach week. So you do have a lot of things that kind of get in the way of soccer. But it's really their only soccer team in the spring. In the fall, when you're playing high school in the fall, you do have club, and it's very serious in the fall, and you're competing against that. And with private schools, um, you probably have some big rivalries, but you may have some rivalries that you don't even know the kids that well at all, and that doesn't happen in public. All these kids know each other in the public school. But what do you think? The level of interest with private and public, is it the same, or do you agree with me? The public might mean a little bit more.
I think it's different, but I think there is a level where the kids want to represent their community. They want to play in front of their friends. Um, we have a lot of guys that we work with and try to sort out how to get them on a workload that's manageable, based on their club schedule. Having been in that world for 20 years or something, just try to be mindful of their bodies, really try to treat it like a professional sort of would, because you're going to go out and do your bit in the morning with your team. You're going to go out and do your afternoon individual session. So we just try to help them, with their workload. But I do think there's something unique about the public school in that you're playing with a lot of guys that you live around too, so guys that maybe you came up with a neighborhood and maybe there's some rivalries that way. Whereas I feel like with the private school, it's almost like college rivalries. The players will change every few years. There's guys being recruited in, there's guys from other states, other, locations that come in. You have, some folks that come that maybe have, a lot of financial struggles, and then you have other kids that are maybe more well off to do. And I enjoy both, to be honest, trying to, because either way, you're working with people. And you're working with young, for me specifically, working with boys, I'm working with young men, and at that stage of their lives, they're looking for, buddies, they're looking for a support system. Sometimes I might say the exact same thing as mom or dad, and they might listen to me, whereas mom or dad is just in and out, almost like we were, it's the same. So I think they each come with their different challenges and their benefits. I genuinely enjoy trying to help these guys get the most out of those opportunities that they have. I mean, some of the teams that I've had, there were guys from Loudon, from Silver Spring, from Bowie, from Fairfax, from Arlington, and those guys were in each other's weddings. They're, playing men's league still to this day, They're creating their own little men's league teams and Instagram pages, and it's crazy. But that was their family. And then, with the Robinson, we have, I joke around with our athletic director and, tell him that every home game at Robinson is alumni night because so many guys come back and they want to be on the bench. And I don't know, I just enjoy helping young men in those stages and ages of their life and trying to get the best opportunities for them. So,
Yeah, I mean, they're both great in their own way, right, Coach?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, real quickly, then I'll let you go. This has been great as always. Love talking Robinson soccer and O'Connell soccer. Tell us about this year's team. Now, Sully is a cagey little player. I think the night I saw him play, I think he may have scored two goals, but at least had one. Clever little finisher. Um, Tell us about Sully and maybe some of the other players that you're excited about this year.
sure. Yeah, Sully's a very talented player. He can play three, four different positions. I think maybe where he projects in college or beyond that is maybe a little bit different than where we might use him this year. But I think in each way that we try to use players, it's to showcase what they're good at, but also to help the team and try and balance those out. So he does a real nice job, whether it be as an attacker, he's an engine in the midfield. He's all over, presses very well. Really like his drive forward. He breaks lines with dribbling on the ball, off the ball. He's a really nice player who I think has a good future. We have another Campbell Nisley, who's been a really solid defender for us for a while. Um, he's going to be asked to do a bit more this year because Zayden's up with Revolution. So, but yeah, Campbell's he's an athletic kid who again, he breaks lines, he covers a lot of ground, a good head on his shoulders. We have a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things, and it's sort of trying to put them in a system or we really don't. It's more about principles, really, to us. And once players kind of can play within these principles, it's just interesting what they can do in different spaces and different areas of the field. We have, one of our younger players. He's going to be a forward for us this year, Caden. He's quick, off the shoulder, very good movement. So you can kind of take players like that, pair them with Sully, who's going to be a senior, and how can you help this guy, as a sophomore become another of yourself? How can you help some of the younger guys come along? We've got a couple good freshmen coming in, young players that move the ball really well. Like you said, our goalkeeper's back this year, Cameron Flores. He leads the line quite well. Good communicator, good with the ball. We have an honorable mention all district player coming back, Zach Robbins, who is a good attacker. He can play on both sides and do different things. We've got, gosh, I think we have two sets of twins going to be on the team this year. So we've already tried to figure out, okay, you can't wear the same boots and you can't dye your hair the same. How are we going to figure out who's who, So, but yeah, no, and what I really like too is we have some young players that are coming in whose parents are alumni and we're soccer players.
That's
And
great.
that's always special because, we had one of our families, the father, he came and played in the alumni game last year. And I'm thinking, shoot, can we shave off like 25 years and stick you in the team? Because you didn't give the ball away once,
Yeah.
and then we get his son coming through. So that's exciting. But yeah, so it'll be a year where we did have a lot of players graduate. I think we had maybe 12 or 13 overall. I think we had five or six starters. And then we had a few guys that we helped kind of move on to other opportunities as well. But a good group, a good exciting group. Our league is very hard. Um, at any given time, I mean, you can have the Maryland, Virginia, and DC, state champion in our conference. So the WCAC is quite difficult. But yeah, we're gonna reload again, see how we do.
Yeah. Well, Coach, twins can be very difficult. It can be very tricky. If they're like the best players on the field, it's one thing. You get two of that. But any other situation, it can be very difficult. It could be
Well,
very
it's funny.
delicate.
So we've got all levels covered. So we've got a set of twins, one's a goalkeeper and one's primarily a defender.
Oh,
And then
good.
we've got the other set of twins, one's primarily a midfield player and the other one's primarily an attacker. So we can layer the whole thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's more important, the WCAC or the state championship?
It's tough because Um, their playoff events overlap
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of pick and choose based on scheduling and based on opponents. But um, it's always nice to be the best in your state, but I think we're also in a unique opportunity where playing in the WCAC and you have some of the best schools almost on the East Coast, athletics wise. So it's a nice opportunity for us to go in and really test ourselves in the league there and try and do as best we can. But I mean, it would be nice for us to take down a state title, I think. But yeah, again, sort of like your question with the fall and spring. I mean, they both kind of have their challenges and their positives to them. I think because of how difficult our league is, it prepares us for playoffs when we have to go and play, the best team out of Virginia Beach, usually Cape Henry, some of the best teams in Richmond, St. Christopher's, and Collegiate. Um, just very good powerhouse programs that we're able to prepare for because of how good our league is. So.
Yeah. Coach, last question. And again, thanks for your time. If you had to give me one or two keys to a successful season, what are you going to need happened for O'Connell to maximize with what you have?
I think just in any successful team, I mean, you gotta love each other. You gotta love the process. You gotta love, like I said, suffering. You gotta love the grind. I think we've got a decent, group returning and maybe a more talented group than last year, to be honest. But I don't know
Really?
because of how young
You lost a lot of great players last year.
I know, but because of how young they are,
Wow,
I think we have to get them to believe a bit. Um,
that's good. That
yeah,
says
it's
a lot.
interesting. Well, because a lot of people always say you graduate so many players and things, but some of these young guys, they're very talented, very skillful, and if put in the right situation and as they grow and develop, I mean, after you have maybe 15, 20 games under your belt, are you really a freshman or a sophomore anymore?
No, exactly. Yeah.
So we'll see. I think if we can stay healthy. And, if we can manage sort of the workload that because as you mentioned in the fall is a bit of a more of a workload at club. So I think if we can manage that well, stay healthy, if our younger guys can develop throughout the season, yeah, I think like you said, you have to love that journey, that process. Um, and we've got to figure out after having graduated so many guys, we have to create a new family. I mean,
Mhm.
just a different type of an environment, but I think you have to create that a family really because at the end of the day, you look at all the successful teams and the successful coaches, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The X's and O's at the end of the day, it's great to be able to give them some type of advantage maybe at times, but you have to love each other and, commit to each other. So,
Yeah. Well, Coach, I really invested a lot in the public school season, and I get to know the kids. I know the games. I watch the games very closely. And it's so much fun to relive that with you tonight. I appreciate doing that. It was an amazing season. I loved it, and I'm just there's disappointment. Like for example, I went to Robinson, and you and Ozzy, I know you guys real well, and I'm always cheering for your success. But then Wakefield got to do some amazing things. I mean, there were so many great stories this year. And the McLean team, they're such a fun bunch of guys. They got upset. I just really enjoyed it, and it was great to relive that with you again tonight. Thanks for all you do for my high school, but also, best of luck this year. I think, you guys had a really good team at O'Connell last year, and if you have that kind of talent again this year, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for what you do for our area and how you highlight, the talent that we have. Um, I appreciate your voice and what you do and how you go out and give these kids a platform to kind of showcase themselves. So thanks for what you do.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great. Well, obviously, I love it, and hopefully, I'll be able to get to more games. I do a lot of college soccer in the
Mm,
fall because I follow the kids that graduate, and but I'm gonna try to do more private, and also see you and also Chris Campbell out in Paul VI,
mm.
and of course my Coach Maestro as well. But anyway, Coach,
I'll tell
I
you
promise.
what, too.
What's
Don't
that?
don't sleep on the O'Connell girls.
Yeah, that's right. They were good last year. Yes.
Yes, very good. Very good. They had the Gatorade Player of the Year last year.
Didn't I guess them Paul the Sixth and O'Connell had a great rivalry last year.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So it'll
Yeah,
be,
come
I'm
on
sure.
out. Come on out. You're welcome anytime.
Oh, for sure. You know I'll be there. So anyway, Coach, sorry for keeping you so long, but thanks again for doing this.
Thanks, Julian. Appreciate you.
All right, Coach. Talk to you soon.
All right.